Hello everybody and welcome to the Friday, July 24th edition of the Search Buzz Video Recap. My name is Barry Schwartz and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. We highlight some of the most interesting and most important news that I think happened over the course of the week in the search realm, including topics on Google, Yahoo, SEO, and stuff, and pay-per-click and stuff like that. So we'll get started right away and stay tuned. On the SEO front, specifically on the link side of Google, it seems that Google has been treating query-specific, for certain queries, localized queries. So if you do a search for Las Vegas hotels or for New York real estate, and anything that's really localized, a query that's localized based on a region, Google's been supposedly looking more at the link weight and how those links are within the same type of local region in terms of, I guess, if that local real estate site has links from other local websites such as, I don't know, Las Vegas Convention Center or Las Vegas flower shops or whatever it might be. According to this Webmaster World thread, which we posted on July 22nd at seroundtable.com, it seems like a lot of people in the real estate or the travel-specific industries are noticing that it looks like the links are less about how broad your links are and how many you have, but more about where those links are coming from and what they are saying about you in terms of the local region. So again, if you want to rank well for Las Vegas real estate, it seems like Google's using more of a look at the types of links you're getting to your site, meaning are they coming from Las Vegas specific types of websites, and two, are they saying anything about Las Vegas or your region in the actual anchor text? There's more details about this. Obviously, this is not confirmed or anything by Google. This is a theory that's going around right now. You can look up more information about this at seroundtable.com. On July 22nd, we have links to the various posts and to the Webmaster World thread. So we did another post about Google picking titles incorrectly. Last week we said that Google might have been picking titles from Google Maps. It turned out not necessarily to be the case. Google's not necessarily picking the title from the Google Maps data, but there are lots of threads popping up here and there from people saying, why is Google not using my title tag? In some cases it's because Google's pulling the ODP listing, the Open Directory listing, and the site's not using a no ODP tag. In some other cases it's that Google feels that the title tag used on that page is not specific enough to help the searcher. In many cases, a lot of these cases that I've been finding, Google is just misassociating the title tag and saying, wait, even though this title tag is really good, Google doesn't think it's good and it's actually replacing with another title tag. So we found lots of cases. One case, Google was replacing what the title tag actually was best animation schools. Google actually replaced that with schools that teach Flash - best animation schools. I don't know why, but in many cases Google's actually replacing title tags, even though the title tags, in my opinion, would be sufficient enough. Obviously, I think that Google did a recent change to how they classify these title tags. We do have some comments from different people on this post and on other posts, so definitely take a look at it. Our most recent post about the title tag issue is on July 20th, but there's links to past posts which actually have comments from Matt Cutts from Google as well as other people. A few weeks ago, we discussed how Google has basically slapped a penalty on the pornography adult industry. It seemed to be about a certain type of script that loaded images, and Google felt that script was, I guess, spammy. What I noticed was a lot of sites later on then got re-included into the Google index, I guess after a Googler found the issue and maybe said, hey, this script is not really spam. But some people who are using Stream Rotator by streamscripts.com, supposedly this image type of script, it's another one that very popular amongst the adult porn industry. Supposedly a lot of people who are using that, I believe it's close to 10,000 sites or so, have been penalized and have not been re-included. So a representative from streamscripts.com came in and said, hey, all our users are being penalized by you guys. Could you please go ahead and do something about it? Is there something wrong with our script? Is it something that's wrong with Google? And can you take a look at that? We posted about this yesterday, July 23rd. So if you are in that industry, or if you are using a script named Stream Rotator, definitely want to take a look at this post, and maybe it will help you with your SEO efforts. There was a thread over at the Bing community. It's basically what they call their forums, with a question about why Bing, Microsoft's new search engine, is associating his website as being either in the UK or in the US. So what happened was Brett Young, Bing community webmaster official, somebody who works directly for Microsoft, said, hey, your meta tag is defaulting to the meta language content is English but Great Britain, GB. So Brett said it's usually an issue with Joomla because that's the default and people usually forget. So definitely go ahead and change that to the US if you want to be targeted in the US. What happened later was, it was interesting. I basically said at the end, I don't think Google uses this meta tag because people usually forget to use it or use it incorrectly. So Matt Cutts actually came in and said, yes, that's true. Google doesn't really rely on that meta tag because of the inaccuracies of it. They actually look at other things like the server location, the domain name, the geo-targeting, Google Webmaster Tools, and stuff like that. So maybe it's a tip for Microsoft to really stop relying on that and give people a way to specify that in Webmaster Tools, at Bing Webmaster Tools, or to look at things like domain name or server location as instead. So again, if you're using Joomla, or if you are worried that Bing is looking up your site and targeting it wrong, definitely take a look at that thread at SEOroundtable.com. Google Webmaster Tool did I guess they call it a summer update. I think the tool is becoming harder and harder to use, and it's harder to find things, but that's another separate discussion. The things they added were a quick search for site profiles, so now you can type in a site name and it should come up in the profile list. You could block site links for subpages, so if you do have some of your subpages showing site links in the search results, you can actually block some of those links if you wanted to. You could review page removal requests, so if you or other people actually submit a removal request of a page, you can actually review them and either accept or deny them. And they actually now fade out unverified sites in the verified sites list in the overview page. The two most important things that I found in that update were that the site links can be blocked on the sub-page level, which is nice, and you actually see third-party people who are actually requesting Google to remove your pages. I wish Google showed more information about who those people are and why they're requesting it. Otherwise, it's pretty neat to know people that are actually requesting your pages to be removed. This morning I wrote a post about how Google should basically allow multiple people to own a Google local business listing. What we have in many cases is one will have multiple owners of a certain business, or people want other people to have access to that business within the company, so that if one person can't make an update, or one person, God forbid, loses his job at that company, there should be other people who have access to that local business listing in order to make updates when necessary. The second situation is where you have certified consultants who are helping, webmaster consultants who are helping businesses with their local listing at Google. And what you want is those consultants basically want to be able to have access to your local listing, or they want to give the business access to the listing they're managing for you. This way multiple people have access to it. Google Webmaster Tools allows people to have multiple access. So now we're asking for Google Local Business Center to allow the same type of access. We got some business news for you. Okay, so we reported last week that Google had very good earnings overall. Apple actually released earnings. It was unbelievable for Apple what they released. But let's get back to search. Yahoo announced earnings. The revenues have dropped again. I think the revenues dropped a significant amount. I think it was 13%. Not exactly sure. I forgot. I don't write what specifically they dropped, but they dropped again. But they squeezed out slightly higher profits because of all the layoffs and all the cost cutting they've done. In other news, they actually released a new homepage. The new homepage was supposed to be the savior, but it's not. There's still rumors. I mean, the homepage is pretty neat. It's very Ajax driven, but again, it's something they've done several times. The investors actually want to see results in terms of profits and revenue from Yahoo. Hopefully that will come soon. I'm not sure. Microsoft also released earnings last night. They were very, very negative, very, very poor for Microsoft historically, and hopefully they're just losing money incredibly. So if you want to read more about the Microsoft news, I'm sure you can do a search today for it or go to TechMeme and find some stuff about that. Clearly, I'm a big YouTube fan. I've been doing a lot of videos on YouTube and iTunes, such as this video. And I often go to the YouTube forums to see what's coming up, what's new, and stuff like that. One person actually spotted that YouTube was testing 3D videos. Basically, you put those glasses on, you can actually see the video in 3D. It turns out there is a Googler whose name is Pete, who's spending 20% of his time, the Google 20% time thing, working on these 3D project at YouTube. There's several ways to enable YouTube to show 3D. We have some samples of it, and it's pretty cool. You definitely, if you want to take a look at this and you're a big video fan, go to SEOroundtable.com, click on the archives, then click on July 20th, and you'll be able to see some examples of this. We actually broke this story. It's one of our most popular stories this week because of the news coverage around it. And it's very, very cool. It's very, very cool how this is being done. I don't know if we're going to be doing 3D videos anytime soon because you need a special video camera, but it is very, very cool. This morning I posted about how there was a thread at Google Webmaster Help Central, the Google Webmaster Help Forum, where one person was ranting off about how but basically Google labels certain people in the help forum as top contributors and bionic posters because they contribute so much and are so helpful over the course of the years. So one person was ranting about how these people aren't helpful. So Google did the right thing. John from Google actually did the right thing. He went in there and actually backed up these top posters and contributors because that's the right thing to do. All they do is they give a lot of their time to help people and help Google answer questions in the forums, and Google did the right thing by backing them up. But what I noticed was the wording they used, in a sense, in my opinion, by Google labeling somebody in the Google Help Forum as a top contributor or a bionic poster, it's basically Google certifying that person as somebody who is qualified to answer questions on Google's behalf in terms of what is SEO friendly and what's not. So in a sense, Google has already AdWords qualified professionals, they had Ad Manager professionals, they have Google Apps professionals, they have lots of different certified professionals for lots of different Google properties. They don't have something called an SEO qualified Google professional or SEO certified Google professional or anything like that, because that's obviously a bit controversial and could get a bit hairy for Google to go ahead and start qualifying SEOs. But I think, based on what John has been saying in this post, that the top contributors and the bionic posters are, in a sense, certified Google professionals and certified Google SEO professionals in a sense. So I did a post about this, a pretty long post, on July 24th with why I think that's the case, and maybe Google should be handing out logos to these specific top contributors and bionic posters. I guess we'll see. It's pretty interesting to see something like that. I have some interesting polls for you this week. I'm going to go through 3 different polls which I found to be interesting. We asked a couple weeks ago, should we be naming the Google updates? So we have Florida update, we have lots of different names for different events updates, stuff like that. We have different names for Google updates. So I polled our audience asking if we should be naming these updates. 82% said we should name all or some of these types of updates. So let me give you the breakdown. 59% of those who answered said we should name Google updates, but only if they're major updates. 23% said we should name all updates no matter what. Only 17% said we should not name any of these updates. That's a pretty good poll, so obviously a lot of people like the names. The next poll we ran was asking, do clients need to be involved with the SEO company? Do they have to be involved during the SEO process? Do you need a client to be involved in order to make a successful SEO campaign? Could SEO companies go solo, or do they need their clients? So overwhelmingly, 96% said SEOs companies need their clients to be involved in some level in order to be a successful campaign. Let me give you the breakdown. And again, these results are not surprising at all. 84% said client involvement is necessary for a successful SEO. 12% said just a little bit of SEO involvement client involvement is necessary, but on the whole, it's not always necessary. But a little bit is necessary, they said. and only 3% of the 160 plus or so responses, only 3% said no SEO client involvement is necessary from the clients themselves. Final poll we have is that 56% said their AdSense earnings are down from what it was previously. Let me give you the breakdown. 35% said their earnings are way down. 21% said their earnings are just down. 20% said there was no real change. 18% said their earnings were up. And only 7% said their earnings were way up. All right, I thought we'd close off with the moon landing logos. 40 years ago, on July 20th, 1969, was the first United States actually landed the Apollo 11 mission on the moon. So it was the first successful landing of a man on a moon, and that was 40 years ago. And the search engines had something to do for that. Bing had a big moon background theme on their website. YouTube had a little animated logo with a crawler walking on a moon. It's pretty cute. We had a man on the moon as well. Google didn't at first, but they posted a moon logo later on in the day, I think at the exact time that the landing actually occurred, supposedly, at about 3:30 p.m. And they put a Google Doodle up there for the moon landing. They also had the Street View men on Google Maps in space costumes and spacesuits. And they also came out with Google Earth for moon on that day. So it was a pretty fun day for that event. We have various logos and themes up, archived on July 20th at SEOroundtable.com. That wraps up today's Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the news we covered over the past week. Again, this is July 24th, Friday edition, and it's the news we covered at Search Engine Roundtable at SEOroundtable.com. Thanks for listening, and see you guys next week.